Have you ever thought of starting your own business? Making your life your own? Now's the time. To get started. Welcome back to Starting a Business Simplified for higher purpose entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Suzy Wraines, and we're continuing our series on the personality patterns as an entrepreneur. So this is based on Steven Kessler's book, The 5 Personality Patterns. And I'm going through each of the 5 patterns and how they are affecting us as entrepreneurs, how they show up for us as entrepreneurs. Just to recap, we've covered the leaving pattern, the merging pattern, and we're now in the gifts of the enduring pattern. So each episode, I'm outlining that specific pattern. We have wounds or defensive patterns, and then there's gifts that come with them as well. So last week, we talked about the defensive pattern of the enduring pattern, the defensive things that come up where we sit back and we don't say anything. We're like wallflowers. And I say we because I identify with this pattern a lot. I use it strategically and was using it without knowing it because it was a defense. And after I realized that it was happening, was able to remove the defensive pattern of it and step into the gifts. So today we are going to talk about the gifts. What are the gifts of the enduring pattern? So from last week when I talked about how this shows up. So when you're little, around, this is like the terrible twos, what people talk about the terrible twos. This is expressing yourself. So when you're young and you're in that 18 months to 2, 3 years old, you are exploring and expressing yourself and seeing what happens. So it's like you're going to express yourself and see what the result is. Is it safe? And when you develop using this pattern, what happens is you express yourself and you don't feel safe doing it. Something happens in your life to diminish that feeling of safety when you're expressing yourself. So the gifts of this, again, when you have a wound defensive pattern that comes up, you also are cultivating the gifts of it. The gifts for the enduring pattern are resilience and patience, being really grounded. So we talked about the leaving pattern a couple of weeks ago, and that's where you just check out. You're not grounded at all. Your energy is leaving your body. So the energy is pushed down. In the enduring pattern, we push it down and we ground. So we're solid. So you might say stubborn people. Being stubborn, like I'm not moving. How is that helpful? Well, as an entrepreneur, one of the things the enduring pattern is incredibly helpful in the gift side is having patience. Having a business does not happen overnight. It is not blink, okay, now we're successful. It requires a lot of resilience, patience, consistency, and time. And I've talked about these on the podcast before. I have a whole episode on time and consistency. And what happens as an entrepreneur is we want things to happen fast. We live in a time now where everything's happening really, really fast. You can get things instantly. Drive through food. You've got order it on your app and then boom, it's at your front door. Everything is deliver in an hour or show up the next day delivery. All of these things are like right now, right now. Business is not. It just isn't. Now, if you have a ton of money and a ton of time, which we all have the same amount of time, so that's not going to help, a ton of money to hire teams of people to build a business for you, it's still not going to happen overnight. So the impatience of I want to be successful right now can be challenging as an entrepreneur. But for people that identify with the enduring pattern, if they've been using the defense side of it, defending themselves, not speaking up, and all these things, they're also using the gift. So I'm going to talk about me because that's what I know best. For me, understanding that once I realized it's safe to speak up and I can express myself, how can I use the gifts of the enduring pattern? Well, I don't give up. I'm like in it. I'm in it to win it. Like I'm just going to stay, stay, stay. And that's part of the gift. That is what's grounded, loyal, If you have employees that have this, that are using these gifts, they're extremely loyal and they will stick it out until the end. You'll have to force them out. Like they're just like, no, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. That's the gift. So having patience, knowing that things are going to take time and being consistent over time is going to generate success in your business. So as an entrepreneur, this is a very, very valuable gift. Knowing that it is a gift, embracing it, and asking yourself, where can I use this more to help my business? Where can I step into this and lean into it more in order to develop this gift? Now, if you're a person who's impatient, you're like, no, I want to do it now. I want to do it now. This is where you can start to practice. How can you be comfortable when things aren't moving fast enough? Grounding, again, this is where you can tap into energetic practices. You can meditate, slow down, take a minute, just let yourself rest. Be like, it's all okay. It's on its way. It's happening. I'm just going to relax into being patient, allowing yourself to be patient. So this is something that comes easily. I'm going to look at my notes to make sure I'm not missing anything. So a part of patience also for an entrepreneur is having a long-term perspective. So when I work with my clients, I'll specifically ask them, what would you like to accomplish in 90 days? Give me that. What goals would you like to achieve in 90 days? Okay, now we're going to look further out. Let's talk about, what do you want to see in a year? And think about that. Knowing that the goal is further out allows you to be patient about it, because you're like, I have 12 months. I'm going to make these small little steps along the way, and eventually I'm going to get to that 12-month. And because I'm consistent over time on this long period, it's going to get me to my goal. So having this gift and being able to use it in that way is incredibly powerful, because you can see the long-term vision. And so you relax. It's okay. We're getting there. A great example. So Business Simplified, we host retreats. We do virtual retreats and we do in-person retreats. I host them, and the virtual retreats, I have guest speakers come and they talk about their specific area of entrepreneurship and help with workshops. The in-person retreats, those are in Alaska. So in Alaska, we meet small groups, so no more than 6 to 8 guests is what I do, so that we can really bond, connect, help each other, support each other, and work through things. So the reason I bring this up is that when I started, I got this inspired action. I was meditating and my guides were telling me, you need to do a retreat. It's going to be amazing. And so I kind of just worked with that. But I was like, when should I do it? What I did is I positioned it 18 months out. So I started planning my retreat 18 months away from the time it was going to happen. Why did I do that? Strategically, from a business perspective, gave me plenty of time to develop, what is the retreat going to be? How do I want to focus? What is the outcome that I would like, the results that the guests are going to get? Where would I like to have it? How much does it cost? What is the budget for it? How much am I charging? And it's in Alaska. That's not an easy place for people to get to. So strategically, I mapped all of this out. And if you haven't listened to the Universal Laws episodes, I highly encourage you to do that. The law of gender is the balance of masculine and feminine energy. So the masculine energy of strategic planning, I have 18 months. And so the retreat the first one is September 2025. So if you're listening to this in 2025, it's happening this year. But I started planning it in, I think, July of 2024 on purpose, to give me that space, to allow me to be slow and consistent with it, really develop what it is it's going to be. Because my goal as an entrepreneur, Business Simplified, one of our values is to help people have results. It's about them being successful, because that's the whole point. Is I'm here to help people build a foundational business sustainably and grow it. In order to do that, it takes time and patience, the gift of the enduring pattern. So this retreat, I am planning it out. And I decided I'm going to do 2 of these each year. So now I'm already looking at 2026. It's January 2025 right now when I'm recording this. And I'm already thinking about 2026. And it's like, whoa, that's just way out there. Like, why would you? That is part of being an entrepreneur. You're thinking ahead and you're mapping things out of how you're going to get there. And the how part is strategically and thinking through. And then it gives me time to implement the feminine energy side, which is the creative side. So I can take more time to meditate and read and watch videos and hear from other people to develop that inspired action. So then I get inspiration from listening to podcasts that other people do, from watching YouTube videos, from going to community events, from networking with other people. All of these things give me that creative feminine energy that comes in and I go, oh, I have a great idea for the retreat. I'm going to implement that. Well, guess what? It's 18 months out, so I have time. So even the resiliency is another gift of the enduring pattern. The resiliency that comes is that you're adaptable to change. So the pattern is not just, I stuff down my energy and I'm patient. I'm just going to wait it out. The gift is you can shift and change because you're okay. Anyway, you're so grounded that if someone throws something at you, is like, hey, we need to make this change. You're like, okay, let's do it. And you just do it. You're grounded. It's not a problem. So that resiliency piece comes in. When you mix that with the feminine energy, you can make changes in a grounded position that makes sense, that work, that and the follow through is amazing and you're successful. So to cover again, gifts of the enduring pattern, patience and resiliency. You're loyal. You can hold space for people. You're an amazing listener. Remember we talked about the merging pattern and it's like they like to talk. And that's beautiful. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. That is and that's a beautiful gift because they're communicators and they're compassionate and they love people and they love community and bringing people together and they're so fun. They're the life of the party. Beautiful. Enduring pattern people can sit with you and listen and hear what you have to say and hold space because they're grounded. This beautiful grounding in a gift space is being able to sit and hold space. So when you talk to somebody who is using this gift, and again, we all have access to all of the gifts. Always. We have access to the defense when it's required, and we have access to the gifts all the time. We just have to know what they are and then we cultivate them. So if you're a person that's like, I have a really hard time listening, I want to talk or I want to, engage in some way, this is one you can cultivate. You can do counting in your head to just take a breath. 1, 2, 3. Focus on the person. Be present. Again, this is energetic practices. So practicing grounding yourself before you're going to have a conversation with somebody. So as an entrepreneur, if this is not something that comes easy to you, before you have a meeting, just take a minute, take a nice deep breath in and hold it for 3 or 4 seconds and allow yourself to be present in the moment. Let go of what's before, let go of what's happening after, be here right now. And when you do that, you can then step into the meeting present. You'll hear what they're saying and not from a way of, I need to know what to say back. Listen to what they're saying. If you repeat back to them things that they're saying to you, they will feel more heard and understood. And then you can give them a response that matches their need. As an entrepreneur, that is so important. And it's especially important when you're working with clients. You need to find out where they are. What is their perspective? Because that's all that matters. Knowing what their perspective is hearing what they're saying, and then you can give them a response that they need that's going to be helpful. You can repeat back to them, reflect back to them their own words. And that's powerful. They're going to hear what they said and go, did I say that? Yeah, you said that. You probably have a belief around that. Wow. Yeah, I do. I want to change that. Then you can get into it. So having this gift is amazing, but we can all tap into it and cultivate it. So I want to give you an example just really quickly. We are going to get into the challenger defender pattern. Next week, we're going to talk about the wound and defense of the challenger pattern. But I also want to name that we adopt these patterns, the gifts and the defenses in our everyday life and when we're interacting and doing things. So I like to, in my mind, now that I understand the patterns, I'll like pick out things and I'll go, oh, that's that pattern and they're doing that pattern. So if you think about an employee and a CEO, and I did an episode of the employee mindset versus the CEO mindset. There are patterns, gifts of the patterns that fit into these two categories very, very easily. So the enduring pattern is an extremely, I want to say, successful employee mindset. So as an enduring pattern, they're patient, they're resilient. Like you want an employee like that. That's just like, how can I help you? What can I do? How can I make this easier? I'm flexible. It's totally fine. I'm good. I'm grounded. Things are happening. There's fires to be put out everywhere. And they're the one that's sitting there going, bring it to me. I'll fix it. It's fine. No problem. It's not a big deal. Those are the amazing employees that people are like, I need that person. So that's a really, really good gift for being an employee. And you, as an entrepreneur, you have to be an employee. We're an employee, but then we have to step over and be CEO. So for me, it's just me and my husband. So the only two of us that are running the entire business. So both of us step into employee mindset and CEO mindset. We go back and forth depending on what we're doing. Are we making a business decision or are we doing our everyday work? Both of us do everyday work. I'm recording this podcast. This is being an employee. I'm a host and I'm recording. But some of the things that I'm telling you on the podcast, I selected from a CEO mindset. So when I looked at the outline, I said, what am I going to record on the enduring pattern gifts? Let me map that out. This is the message that I want to go out. I decided that from a CEO perspective. What is it that I would like to be sharing with the audience to get the message out about Business Simplified? So that's the difference there. And in the enduring pattern, we do really well in the employee. So I can use my gifts as an employee and record this podcast and be solid and be able to change on a dime and all the things that come with it. The CEO mindset, they embrace challenger gifts. And there's defenses there too, but the challenger gifts, we're going to talk about those in 2 weeks. Next week, we're going to talk about the challenger defense. So we're going to talk about how that shows up. But I want you to keep in mind that when you're doing different roles in your business, you can tap into different gifts to help you and to be successful, to really step into being as the best version of yourself that you can be. That's the beautiful thing about these patterns is understanding what they are, what are the behaviors that show up, and then how can I tap into the gifts and how can I use the defense when it's necessary? So from a enduring pattern perspective, I talked last week about when the defenses are important to use. So if you haven't heard that, go back and listen. The gifts you can use anytime, and you can use them with your family, in relationships, friendships, when you're out shopping, if you're working with, you're talking to somebody in public, standing in line is a great place to use the enduring gifts because you're patient. You're like, I know it's taking a long time because this is a really long line. And the people that are working, they're doing the best they can. And have some of that empathy, get grounded, sink into yourself, use it as time to just sit and be silent with yourself and observe. It's a beautiful time to just be with self. Be in the present moment. Not thinking about, I wish this line would go faster so that I can get out of here and go do what I'm going to do next. That's speeding everything up. We don't need to do that. If you have to wait in a line, you have to wait in a line. You'll get there eventually. Everything's temporary. It'll be fine. Again, I'm speaking from the gift of the enduring pattern. That is what a person with the enduring pattern would say. It's a line. It's no big deal. We're good. So I'm going to give you some reflection questions and something to think about when you are thinking if you resonate with this pattern, or if you would like to cultivate and get better at using the gifts of this pattern. So how has my resilience helped me in tough times? That's a great question. And I recommend that you journal on these. How can I use patience to create a steady, sustainable business model? And if you're stuck on that one, reach out. I would love to talk to you. This is what I help people do. I help them to create a steady, sustainable business foundation. That's what I do. In what ways can I remain grounded when faced with unexpected challenges? Again, what are some ways that you can ground yourself? Take a minute and go, okay, what is necessary right now? The leaving pattern will just leave. Like, nope, I'm out of here. This is crazy. It's overwhelming. I can't be a part of this. I'm done. And they'll just leave. The merging pattern, they'll find somebody to help them. Help me, please. And guess what? They usually grab an enduring pattern person. Can you help me? And the enduring pattern person's like, of course I can help you. Why are you so stressed out? It's not a big deal. And we're grounded. And we're like, let me help you. Go ahead and give it to me. I got it. We're good. So you see how these all work together and in what way. And as you learn more about them, you'll start to understand which ones are easy for you, which ones are challenging, how you can cultivate them, what you can do to be the best version of yourself as an entrepreneur. How can you show up? And if you're a person who's growing a business and you're hiring people, how beautiful is it to understand what's happening in your organization? If you see some of these patterns popping up because you're aware of them, you'll know how to communicate with your employees. You'll know what dialogue works best for them. You'll know what training material to implement to help people understand more of how this works, how they can communicate in teams. The uses are endless as an entrepreneur. So I just want you to be thinking about these things. And right now, what is it for you? How are you showing up? And how would you like to show up differently to, again, pull in that law of attraction so that you are vibrating at the frequency that you want to be in your business, the success that you want to draw to you, the type of clients you want to work with, the type of collaborations you want to have. All of this is linked to how much you are defending yourself. When you release the defense, step into the gifts, you change your vibration. And I talk about this in the Law of Vibration, the Universal Law series. If you go back and you listen to that, when you change your vibration, the energy that you put out is what you draw to you. And it's like a magnet. And if you flip the magnets over, then they come together. So basically, removing a defense is going to flip you over to a different vibration. And then you're going to have energy that draws other people to you, the ones that you want. So if you haven't listened to that, I encourage you to go do that. Thank you so much for listening to Starting a Business Simplified podcast. I so appreciate you as listeners. And if there's anything that you have comments, questions, or anything, please comment wherever it is that you're watching this. If you're watching it on Spotify, answer the questions that come up. I ask questions sometimes at the end of the podcast. YouTube, make a comment. I love to get feedback and know what's helpful. If you would like to join the Higher Purpose Entrepreneur community, that is a community of spirit-led entrepreneurs. We support each other, collaborate. That link is in the show notes. And also the Somagetic Sanctuary free community, if you would like to learn more about this trauma energetics, the patterns, how you can heal through some of the things yourself. And if you would like to do this for other people, they have a program that they offer, but the free community is there just for support. And I'm over there in the community, would love to connect with you over there. So anything that you need, please reach out. And as always, keep it simple.